On the idea of, or the topic of grief and death, like, why is it so hard for people to talk about it? Okay, we have an exciting topic today that nobody wants to talk about: death. I know, it's like, oh, really? That's what we're going to talk about today? Way to make my day, Kristina. Listen, there's not enough talk, and I don't know if it's just our culture. I feel like some cultures are way more open about talking about death and grief. It's something we are all going to go through ourselves. Obviously, we can't live forever. But more importantly, maybe, is even the fact that we don't talk enough in our society about grief. And that's something all of us will experience too. We will all lose a loved one. I find that parents especially are scared or nervous to talk to their kids about death because they don't want to scare them and they don't want to make them sad and they don't want to worry them. And I've always believed that there's an age-appropriate level to talk to your children about everything. And I think we do them a disservice when we avoid these hard topics, because then when your kid does lose somebody, whether it's their pet dog or their grandma or, God forbid, a parent or sibling, it is this unknown that we never talked about. And sometimes parents, even when a death happens, they still kind of avoid talking about it and just try to, band-aid it and let's just make sure the kid is happy. And instead of, let's process all of this and let's feel it and let's talk about it and let's normalize grief, because grief is a part of life. So anyway, I want to talk about all of that today. I also want to talk about just us as adults and how we grieve, because we have really weird feelings around death and grief. So I have my good friend Amy Pickard here.
Hello, everyone.
And Amy, actually, I'm going to have you tell them how you started Good to Go and like why you started it and what Good to Go is.
Sure. I mean, Good to Go is an advanced planning company, and Good to Go is the name of the business.
By the way, how great is that name? Good to go. Like, I'm good to go.
You are good to go. I am on a mission to get everybody prepared for their own death. And I'm trying to bring it out from the darkness into the light with humor and a rock and roll death theme soundtrack. And I give Good to Go parties, and we go through the departure file, which is an over 50-page booklet that includes so much information that you don't know that you're going to need. And it's all the information that isn't included in a will or a trust. And I do want to preface this by saying I am not a lawyer and I am not a doctor. I'm just someone who's lived through the death of her entire family within a small period of time. And I was completely astounded at the amount of the death duties. And so I started writing things down.
Well, tell them the difference of when your mom passed and what you were faced with as her daughter, aside from just obviously the grief and shock and all those things. Aside from that, you had a lot on your plate. And then the difference between when your dad passed.
Well, I created Good to Go after my mom died because there were so many questions that I was not prepared to answer, and I needed her to answer them.
Yeah.
And, I joke with my friends that, it wasn't that I wanted to talk to her one more time to hear her say, "I love you, Amy." It was, "Tell me the friggin' password for your Wi-Fi," because I don't know it. And here I am sitting in her condo in Chicago, and I don't even know how to keep the power on. I don't know what the name of the power company is in Chicago. I don't know what she wanted me to do with her photos or her journals or little things like that. And so I just made a list, and I kept, preaching the gospel to my friends and their parents, saying, you've got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared. You can't put your kid through this, even if they're an adult. I'm like, I suddenly had to be a party planner, an accountant, a travel agent, an estate planner, a lawyer almost.
And there's so many things that people don't think about. Like, they think about, hopefully they think about like, oh, I'm going to have to figure out what to do with my parents. Let's say if it's a parent, you lose a bank account, or what to do with their apartment. But what about, do they have a dog? And does that dog take medication that you don't even know about because your parents live in a different state and you just come and cuddle with the dog, but you don't know. I mean, there's so many little details of our life, like social media passwords, and what does your parent want you to do with that?
And all of those questions are in the departure file because they're the everyday things that people don't think about, you know? And the first half of the departure file is all the logistics, your bills and your doctor names and your dentist names. And who do you want contacted through business to let them know that your person died? Who do you want to talk to? What do you want to say to them? Do you have pets? Where are their hiding places? It's not just death, it's in an emergency. So that when an emergency occurs, you know exactly to go to your departure file, you read it, and you know exactly what their wishes were. And it even digs down into the logistics of your daily stuff, but it also answers bigger questions like, do you want to be kept on life support if there's no quality of life afterwards? That's not something that you want to put on your spouse or your kids or anybody, whoever your people are, when you haven't talked about it.
And what a gift to give to somebody to know I don't have to make this decision for them. And then carry guilt one way or the other that I had to decide this. Like, how lovely to just know I know exactly what they wanted because we talked about it and they wrote it down. And
my mom didn't write it down or anything. And so I created Good to Go. And then my granny died. And then my mom's estate took 2 years to finalize. My granny's estate took about 1.5 to 2 years to finalize. And then fast forward to 2016, my dad came to a Good to Go party. And we didn't know that he would die that year.
So real fast, just to backtrack for people that don't understand. So Good to Go party is where you bring departure files, like people get their friends together over. Everybody gets the departure file, which is the file where you fill out what you want. Like, this is what I want to happen with my, like there's specific questions that are very detailed. They're great about your pets, your medication.
Think about it.
Literally.
You just have to fill in the answers.
But so you can just order a departure file and just fill it out yourself. But what makes it fun with the parties is that you have like the death theme music, like
we do. We've
Stairway
got, we've got a rock and roll death theme soundtrack, like Another One Bites the Dust. And
it's just a way, because this is such a heavy topic, it's your way of just making it more fun. And then you also have, it's a potluck, you have everybody bring
a dish of some sort of one of their, loved ones' dishes. And I say, even though life is crazy, you don't have to bake Aunt Martha's lemon cake. You can just buy one at Ralph's or the grocery. It's fine, but it's symbolic,
Okay, so your dad came to a Good to Go party.
So then my dad came to a Good to Go party, and I learned so much about my dad at the Good to Go party. Months go by, he's filled out his departure file. And because of the party. And then suddenly he had pneumonia, and he went to the doctor on a Friday, and they claimed that they could not hear any fluid in his lungs. But on that Friday, he called his sister, who was a nurse, and she said, you have fluid in your lungs and you should go to the hospital. And he said, well, the doctor said if it's still bothering me, call him on Monday. The next day, he had to call the hospital because he couldn't breathe.
Wow.
And so the ambulance came and got him. He was in the ICU. I was notified. I got there as soon as I could, and he died 6 days later. But the thing that really stood out for me was, as soon as I heard he was in ICU, I instantly remembered all of the conversations we had. I got his departure file. I got his living will. I got his actual will together. I took it all to the hospital. I plopped it down on the, on the counter, and I said, this is my dad's living will. And they were in shock. They said, nobody does this. Nobody gives us this information. And I said to them, we have talked about death and grief. So tell us the truth. You don't have to sugarcoat it, And I said to Dad, he was intubated, so he couldn't speak. And I said, you know that everything's taken care of, right? And the peace on his face still makes me cry. But he just went, nodded. And
what a gift for both of you.
It was
like,
such a gift.
Exactly what he wants with everything. You know every detail, because again, that file is so freaking detailed.
And
then he has the piece of like, I'm not leaving any sort of burden for my daughter.
He saw what I went through after
with
going through with my mom and my granny. And he was like, I'm not going to do that.
By the way, Amy's parents were divorced. So that's why it was all on you.
Yeah. And so it gave him peace. And so the limited time remaining in his life was spent holding his hand and saying the privilege of a lifetime was being your daughter. Aww. It wasn't, Dad, what's the garage code? Blink once for 5. And then, oh my gosh, what do we do with your car? Oh my gosh, when's your mortgage due? And even through the chaos of illness, I wasn't even remembering he came to the Good to Go party. I went to the bank and I was freaked out. And I was like, how do I pay his bills while he's in the hospital? Because I didn't know he was, terminal or anything. And the bank said, Amy, you came in here with your dad last year. Don't you remember? All you have to do is just sign the checks. You don't have to worry about it. And I walked out of there wanting to kiss myself. I couldn't believe, I couldn't believe I forgot that I did all that. But second
you had
of
a lot
all,
going on.
We prepared. He knew he wasn't leaving a mess for me, and it just, when you plan for your own death, the surviving loved ones around you, they will carry out the death duties in a lighter, much easier way. And it becomes an honor because they have clear instructions from you. So if you died, I would feel so proud knowing that I carried out everything that Kristina wanted.
It's another way you actually get to show love.
Exactly.
But the other thing that is so important. So when we lose someone like that, I mean, and especially if it's unexpected, right? Like, let's say it's not even like an ailing parent or an older parent. Like, what if it's your spouse or your best friend? Well, it's so hard to just deal with the emotional grief of it. And so I feel like having all the information, having those conversations just gives you space to be able to actually just take care of yourself during that time and really grieve.
Yes.
Instead of running around like a freaking secretary, just trying to manage
and be in the moment. And in a helpless situation like that, you're actually being helpful.
Yeah.
And in the departure file, my dad ended up writing his own obituary. And so that's brain space after he's, dead that I'm grieving. I don't have to think, how do I encapsulate my dad's entire 72 years in a paragraph for an obituary? You don't even have to have that brain space. He wrote it.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly what he wanted. And there were actually some distant relatives that, had a problem with the obituary because it omitted a few things.
Yeah.
And I just felt rock solid and delightful because
it wasn't your fault.
Nope. It was word for word. Dad wrote it down,
Yeah.
And I also, I've got a grief thing on my mind that I just want to share really quickly because I just recently got some videos from the 90s digitized. And it's a trip. And there were videos of my dad and there were videos of my mom. And so in the 90s, I took a video camera and I just sat it on a table while we were all hanging out. This wasn't including my mom. It was just my dad and his sister and her son. And we were just kind of shooting the shit, and just hanging out for 45 minutes. And everybody at the time was like, don't film me. What are you even filming? And of course, 30 years later, I look at it and it's such a gift. We were just hanging out, and so
I know we need to film more of those mundane moments.
This was my point. What I wanted to say is take photos. Take a video. When you have Thanksgiving, just set up a camera in the corner and just film. You don't have to do anything. Just the interaction between your family. It's so natural and easy. And it got me so emotional because I rewound the tape to the very beginning. And then I'm probably going to cry, but who cares? But I went into the kitchen to do the dishes while the tape was still going, and it felt like the family were in the next room, while you're just in the kitchen getting snacks or doing dishes. And so I want to encourage people to take photos of the everyday moments. And I remember 2 specific instances with you. You came over to my place to start writing your book. And so you were, really diligently working away. And I just took a couple photos of you because
I still have them.
Because do you have any photos of you writing the book?
Only the ones you took.
Exactly. Yeah. And so take photos of goofy things.
You know what it is? I think especially with social media, taking videos or photos of family has become more performative, right?
Yeah.
Like, ooh, this funny thing is happening. We should film it.
Right.
Or, ooh,
tell that
this
funny
big.
story.
Yeah. Or we only, like even before social media, most of the time when people film their kids, it was because they're opening presents Christmas morning or they have a, recital or whatever. But I love the idea of just like absolutely mundane, like family dinner, just set the camera in the, corner or whatever.
You invited me over for my birthday and you cooked for me and the whole family was here. Yeah. And I was sitting at your dining room table getting emotional because I was just watching you and Philip enjoying and interacting with Matea and Luca and Ari. And, I took a couple still photos of it because it's like you never know when the last time you're going to have a family dinner is going to be. You never know when the last time your family vacation is or the phone call or whatever. And so to have that on video of no performing, just hanging out, enjoying each other and laughing, it's now a gold videotape that provides so much nourishment for my dad's sister who's in her 80s. And my cousin. And so I just want to encourage people because also the moms usually don't get in the photos. Yeah. It's the mom taking all the pictures or whatever. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just, I like the imperfect.
In fact, I love the imperfect. I love the not posed.
Yes.
Like my least favorite photos of our family are the ones that were like done by professional photographer post. Right. Those are my least favorite. Right. And because there's the part of it, let's be honest, is a little fake, right? Because that's not what every day looks like.
Totally.
But on the idea of, or the topic of grief and death, why, and maybe it's an obvious answer, like why is it so hard for people to talk about it? Because we're not a society that only talks about happy things, right? But this is one topic that like people just like, even with, you've even seen with Good to Go, where people don't want to do it because they're like, why would I focus on death? Or, I don't
want to be negative.
I've heard you tell me like somebody was planning on having a party for Good to Go. And then their friends were like, I don't want to go there. They also feel like they're going to jinx themselves or whatever it's called. Like, if I write my wishes down, I'm going to die tomorrow. And I just think, I love what you said. You're going to say it better. What you said about the planning a burrito or whatever.
Oh yeah. We spend more time and thought building a burrito than we do planning our deaths and what we want done in case of an emergency. And so my advice is talk about all of the hypotheticals, and for example, I said to my dad the year before he died, I said, just in case, something happened to you, like if you had a heart attack or a stroke and you couldn't live alone anymore, what do you think it's going to happen? How is it going to go down? And he said, well, I guess you just have to put me in a home or something. And I was like, fee you. I thought you were going to say you're going to have to move here from Los Angeles and take care of me, but I'm not qualified. I'm not a nurse, But just that 30-second conversation, if something would have happened to him and we hadn't had that conversation, I would have moved. Yeah. I would have.
Yeah. And then he would have probably felt guilty. Like it's a whole,
you've got to just communicate about hypotheticals and I don't have kids, but I'm sure you guys have a plan if there's a fire, because you've had to evacuate before and things like that. And so it's just like, all right, mom and dad, if you guys die, what's the first thing that we do? Yeah. Do we call the grandparents? Do we call the coroner? I don't know, it's good.
I really believe that there's a way, I'm repeating myself a million times. There's an age appropriate way to talk about anything with the kids, right?
Right.
So I think like normalizing talking about death is doing them such a favor. And I think also we as a society need to look at death differently. Like it's just like this doom and gloom. The fact is it's going to happen to everybody. The hope is it's going to happen after you've lived a long, long, long life. Yes. And it's your time. That's the hope, right? That it won't happen when you're younger.
Of course.
But we don't know.
No.
And so the way I've chosen to talk to my kids about death, I've told them I'm not going to be here forever. We all know this, right? So what I want, and they know very clearly, what I want is I don't want some sad funeral. I mean, you're going to feel sad. That's normal. I want you to feel what you feel. But I don't want this to be this like dark thing where you all stand up and you tell people how I was a perfect mom, because that's a lie. I want it to be representative of who I authentically was.
Right.
So if you're going to give the speeches,
Yeah.
tell like the funny story. Tell the stories of when I screwed up.
Yeah.
Like make it fun and funny, because that's how I used humor as medicine in my life. So often I still do. Make it about that. And then I told them there has to be a dance party at my memorial service.
Yes.
Because that's representative of me.
Yes.
And I won't think of it as I'll be dead anyway.
Right.
But it won't be insulting, or disrespectful. Like have a dance party. I want a whole chocolate bar. Like I want the chocolate fountain where people are dipping all kinds of stuff in there. Like I want it to feel like a celebration. And yes, you're going to cry and you're going to mourn and you're going to miss me and all of that. But celebrate who I was when I was here. And I love that you, were you the one that said that you want to have a tater tot bar or something?
I wrote down in my good to go departure file that I want to have my life celebration at the Troubadour, because I'm a rock and roller, and everyone is going to get backstage passes for the afterlife, all access areas for the afterlife, and I'm going to give them a little gift bag of little earplugs and
well, you're not gonna, I'm gonna, or somebody else is gonna.
And then I'm going to have a tater tot bar, and everyone's going to wear a band t-shirt of a concert that they saw, or a favorite band shirt or something, and then I'm gonna have all of my concert t-shirts laid out and people can just grab one that they love.
See, how fun is that? And the point is not just, we have to make everything fun. The point is it is so reflective of you, right?
Right.
And how, I think a lot of times people forget that you can have laughter in grief. It's 100%. Not just respectful, it's actually healthy. Like laughter, I mean, gosh, look it up. Like the stuff that biologically happens in our body when we laugh, it is so healthy for us, right?
Yeah.
And I think people just see it as like, it has to be this very serious thing. And it has to, and I think that's why they actually don't have those open conversations with their children.
Right.
Because they can't paint it as just, it's a part of life. And it gives us, then after, yes, we're going to be sad, but it gives us a chance to celebrate this person and to honor them and to tell funny stories about them. So I really encourage parents, like, don't wait till your child loses someone to talk about death for the first time.
Right.
Because then it's like this, wait, what? I didn't even know this was a thing.
Right.
And the other thing I want to say, I think it's really important to keep in mind that there's not one correct way to grieve. And I experienced this.
Right.
I mean, I've lost loved ones, but when I really experienced this is when I miscarried my twins. Is that sometimes people set a timeline. Like my friend who lost his mom a few years ago talks about it all the time, how people will come up to him and be like, okay, it's been 2 years.
Right.
Like, why are you still making videos where you're crying, talking?
Right.
There's not a timeline.
No.
Right? The only correct way to grieve is your way. As long as you're not hurting anybody else or yourself.
Yeah.
Like, grieve your own way. Figure it out, right? There's no rules for it. And so I think even teaching our children about grief, right? They're going to experience it in their life. And sometimes I feel like our desire to protect them from certain topics or certain feelings is actually hurting them long term.
But here's the deal. You can't protect your kids from death. And also, if you want to protect them, plan for your death.
Yeah.
If you want to protect your kids, this is kind of the last bit of parenting that you're going to be able to do for your kids.
So true.
And there's a new way of grieving called continuing bonds, which is including your departed loved one in your everyday, whether that's having a little shrine in your place or a little candle or just
doing
talking
something for
about
their
them.
birthday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just talking about them. I make my mom and granny's recipes all the time. I can't not think of them. I've got all of my mom's dishes and things like that. And so I think of them every day, but not in a I haven't moved on way.
Yeah.
But dude, they were my parents my whole life.
Yeah.
So, 45 years I'm just supposed to get over in 1 or 2 years. It's been 10 years since my mom died, and 8 or 6 since my dad died or something. I don't even remember. But anyway, I was, I get emotional at the holidays. We just had the holidays, and it's emotional.
And what's that quote about, like, grief is
all the love,
a sign that you loved, or I don't know. It's much better than what I just said.
Basically like that's where your love goes, because when your person dies, you just, when my dad died, I was constantly thinking of him like, oh, it snowed in Ohio. Did he shovel his driveway or whatever? And then when he's dead, all of that thought and time and energy, it's like, what do I do with it? You know? And the answer is you pour it into yourself. You see yourself as your loved ones saw you. Mm-hmm. And so, weirdly, even though my mom was my best friend, her dying was one of the most beautiful things that ever happened to me, because she loved me so much that I do continue bonds with her. Yeah. And when I see you, Mother, I think of my mom always, because you're a great mom and so is she. And so it's those things that you don't have to forget that you're sad and forget that dead person. You can incorporate them. Yeah. And I say, talk to your loved ones about how you want to be celebrated or memorialized. Yes. And this is in the departure file too, because I wanted my dad to know that I would, do him right, and I remember saying to him before he died, I said, what do you think happens? How do you think you're going to react when you die? And he said, I'd probably say, holy effing shit, and so I put that on a cake for his life celebration. It said, holy effing shit, I'm dead. And everybody who knew my dad laughed hysterically. I ordered baby animals to be brought in for his funeral because I knew I was going to be the saddest ever. And I thought, how can you be sad with baby animals? Because my dad was a huge animal lover, and I told him, every year when you die, I'm going to order a pizza and have a Pepsi or maybe have some Cheez-Its or, whatever he did. Yeah. And so knowing that he knew how I would be celebrating him every year, it comforts me. It adds to it helps my grief. Yeah.
I think also when people in our life bring up these conversations and tell us what they would want. For example, I remember my grandmother saying, hey, I picked an outfit that I want to be buried in. Right. So often our instincts to be like, oh, don't think about that. Yeah, you're not dying anytime soon. Yeah. Like, you're going to be around. Like, we feel like we need to comfort them instead of taking it as a gift they're giving us. Yes. And just going, thank you. And I will make sure that happens. Like, that feels to us like it's cold or insensitive. We just want to make everything better and cozy and happy and comfortable. And I remember when my grandma passed, just the idea of my mom not having to stand in front of that wardrobe and go, this or this or this, but just go, yep, I know. What a gift. Yeah. Right. So don't shut that down when they bring up things they want. Don't go, oh, let's not talk about your death yet. Right. There's nothing wrong with talking about death. In fact, it's healthy. Talk about it.
But your mom won't carry the rest of her life. I wonder if I picked the right outfit.
Yeah, or I wonder if she had exactly what she wanted. Yeah,
and I wish I would have talked to Dad about the baby animals at his life celebration because I was so excited. And I know that he would have loved it. But
I love the idea of really personalizing those memorial services to who the person is. Absolutely. And I think the reason sometimes people don't is they feel like it's disrespectful. I really want to encourage everyone listening, talk to your kids. Some people listening are going to be like, this is crazy for you to do this, Kristina. I don't really care. I've even told my children, and my husband has done the same. We've told them, if something happens to me, and your dad decides to start dating, I'm okay with it. Yes. I don't want you to think, what would mom say? This is disrespectful. Like, I've already had these conversations. And not just recently, like when my kids were much younger. Because God forbid there's a car accident or something,
Right.
and I'm gone, and he decides to move on. I don't want my kids for 1 second to think, oh my gosh, what would mom think? Like have these conversations. I know that it's not, I know it sounds weird, but the reason it sounds weird is because whoever in our society decided that it's weird. It shouldn't be weird.
But they are going to remember that conversation for the rest of their lives.
And we occasionally bring it up again.
And that's the thing. It's like when you're celebrating 4th of July and nobody's dying, just be like, hey, Uncle Bob, do you want to be shot into a firework when you die? Or, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, everybody knows Amy wants to be a firework or whatever, you know? Yeah. And so I also just thought of something. It's off track, but on track at the same time. Take pictures of your kids' rooms. Every kind of version of your kids' rooms. Like you've got the kid room, and then you transition into teens and whatever. Your kids will love it, knowing that they can look back and remember that toy and remember that thing on the wall or whatever. And again, that goes with like taking photos. And hire a photographer for your life celebration to go around and just take natural photos of everybody interacting, because I wanted to have a photographer for my mom's life celebration. A relative didn't want to, thought it was very morbid, and why would you want to take pictures, you know? And I wanted pictures because all of the people there loved my mom. People that worked with her for years, you know? And so I want to see all those people. And of course, 10 years later, half of them are dead, you know? And, you know, my granny's dead. My dad's dead. I have a friend that came that's dead, you know? And so it's like, you want a document of it. Yeah. And I hired a photographer for my dad's life celebration, and every photo, there are people laughing. See? And that's all my dad wanted.
That's
was
amazing.
A sense of humor. I'm going out. We listened to the Reds game. You know, I love it. It was great, and it was perfect. And I was mad that I couldn't call my dad and tell him about it. Yeah. You know, I'm like, you would have had so much fun if you weren't dead.
Yeah. So I love this. And I love your whole attitude about it, because I think it's so important to just...
It just is going to make your grief easier. Like if someone came up with a pill that would help you with grief, advance planning is the pill. I'm telling you, it is going to lighten the load, the mental load, and also add a beautiful healing element to your death.
Yeah.
Don't make your family wonder what to put on a headstone.
Yeah.
Don't make your family wonder about body disposition. And that's something too. It's like when I've interviewed parents about, you know, I interviewed one couple and they said, we want to be traditionally buried. And I said, talk to your grown kids first. And they talked to them and they said, no, we don't want you to be buried. We want you to be cremated so we can both have some of you. And so they changed it.
Yeah.
You know? And so this is why you need to have those conversations, you know? And then after that person dies, there are so many beautiful things. You can make pillows out of your dad's t-shirts like I did. You can, you know, throw pillows, you know, you can, you know, make jewelry out of their handwriting. You can, there's just so many beautiful ways.
I've seen, there's a company that makes outfits for like little teddy bears
out
of like the parents' clothing or out
their
of a baby.
Or something.
Anyway, what's the thing you say? The number one cause of death is life.
Is birth.
It's birth. Sorry, is birth.
Yeah.
Like we're all gonna die. So just like we talk to our children and with our loved ones about pretty much everything else, hopefully, let's just normalize talking about this and tell them where they can order the departure file.
Yes, you can order your departure file on my website, which is good to go peace, as in PEACE, peaceandlove.org. And it's just right on there. You can order the departure file. I'll send it out to you.
And then just make sure that your loved ones know where it's at. Like that's like the right.
Yeah, you've got to keep the communication open for sure.
Like make sure, hey, if anything happens to me, go to this drawer. This is where it's at.
But it makes so much sense, and we don't think about it, and we don't give it the thoughtful consideration that it needs. And we curate our lives every day on social media.
Yeah.
Why not curate your death?
Yeah. And it's not going to make it happen sooner. Okay.
No.
Don't believe those weirdo woo things.
Yeah.
And then if you just need daily support on anything about anything, my app, Hope and Humor Daily. And I just want to end by saying, if you did lose someone recently and you're listening to this and you are grieving, we are sending you so much love.
You're going to get through it. You don't have to know how. I said, how am I going to get through this to my friend? And he said, you don't have to know. You just will.
Yep. You just will. One day at a time. And on extra hard days, 1 hour at a time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. We got to come back. We have so many different topics we can talk about.
I know.
All right. We love you all.
Love you.